So last night I put Crossfire on a quad I just built Friday on my EVO that I've been flying SBUS on. So today I'm going to see if there's any difference in latency between SBUS and Crossfire.
Welcome to OpenTX. Engines
way too cold to be flying. It's like 30 degrees. But you know, when you install new gear on your quad, you got to test it. So why did I switch to Crossfire anyway, or why did I even buy Crossfire? A couple of reasons. The main reason is if you follow my channels, you know, I just went to Thailand with my wife for our 10-year anniversary. Go to like someplace exotic. Of course you want to bring a quad. So I was planning this out in my head, and I wanted to bring a freestyle quad, and I wanted it, as far as the control, I wanted it to be ultra reliable because I figured I was going to be flying over the ocean. And not that my normal race setups aren't reliable, but I build them for racing, so range doesn't matter for racing. Like, it literally, you can install any free sky receiver on a race quad and fold the antennas up and tuck them under the flight controller, and it won't matter. You won't go to a racetrack where it's big enough that you're not going to have enough range. I knew that wasn't going to fly for flying a quarter mile out over the ocean. So I started by switching out my XSR for an X4R, and then I mounted the antennas properly, and then I started testing it for range, and I was able to do like about a mile, with wide open, clear line of sight, no interference. But the problem is that the RSSI got into the 40s, and at that point, if your RSSI is already that low, and if anything gets in between you and the quad, it's gonna fail safe. And we're talking like scraggle or a couple of leaves. Like, it's at 40, 45 RSSI, it's not gonna take much to cause a fail safe. So, right before that, the Crossfire Micro system came out for $120, and just that price point is super appealing. And then I found out that if I have a Gen 1 QX7, it just you just use it without any mods or anything. It just pops in, and so I went for it. I ordered it and started testing that out. I think I've gotten up to about like 1.3 miles, and at that point I'm turning around because I'm running out of battery. But the biggest like point that a lot of people make is that Crossfire protocol, CRSF, is faster than SBUS. And, you know, flying one quad with Crossfire and other quads with SBUS, it was hard for me to really tell a difference. So that's what this morning was all about. So I rebuilt an EVO Friday night, and I flew it all weekend on SBUS. And then yesterday, I got my second Crossfire receiver in the mail and installed it in the EVO. So anyway, is it faster than SBUS? You know, it's hard to know if it's faster. It might be a skosh faster. And, you know, as a racer, like latency is something that really, really stands out. You might not notice it as much flying freestyle, but when you're, you know, hitting gates and things like that, I mean, that stuff like really stands out. So the difference is it's not as big as the difference between PPM and SBUS. But the main thing I noticed about Crossfire, and like this was like really apparent this morning because I've been flying this exact quad on SBUS, is that Crossfire feels more crisp. That's like the best way, and that's funny because it's like that's how it was described to me. Like when you fly Crossfire and then you fly SBUS, it makes SBUS feel kind of dull. So Crossfire, it feels a little more connected, a little sharper, a little more responsive. Overall, it's nice. It's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling over SBUS. I don't know if it's worth $120. You know, I'm assuming when I start, I mean, just for like that feel, like when I start hardcore like race practicing again, then I'll really be able to tell a difference. Now there's other, now Crossfire is not just, like the benefit is not just long range. And this is one thing I've noticed over the past few weeks over all my testing. When you start dealing with any kind of range, when I say range, I'm talking about like at a minimum 1,000 feet. When you get out to 1,000 feet and you start flying behind things like trees or bushes, free sky protocol actually starts to lag, and it'll actually start to like kind of like glitch. Like if you watched my Dusk Till Dawn golf course video, there's a point in that video where I try to do a split S over some trees, but like the quad like overshoots, and that was all lag. So yeah, Crossfire, like when Crossfire, you can be at 1,000 feet, and it's funny, Crossfire will tell you when it's like losing signal because it'll switch modes. But even when it does that, I don't notice like any kind of like latency or lag. So yeah, that's the other big bonus to Crossfire, is that it's always gonna like have the same feel, whereas with SBUS, once you start kind of stretching the limits, it'll introduce lag into the system. You know, that's not like confirmed or measured by me, but that's just like what I've experienced. So again, that, you know, it begs the question, is it worth $120 initially? And then, you know, you're talking, I think it's $40 right now for each additional receiver, which is, it's pretty pricey to switch all your quads over. I think for me, it's one of those things where I'm eventually gonna switch probably all of my quads over, because anything that you can do to improve your stick feel and your flying feel, I mean, to me, I mean, that's paramount. You know, like racing and freestyle, it's all about like your connection to the quad. And the crappy part is I'm gonna have to, you know, buy all this crap for zero too, and then I'm gonna have to mod his X7. Hopefully somebody comes out with like an easy solution to mod, because you know, last thing I want to do is like break a radio or something like that. Other thing I noticed this morning is on my EVO, I use the stock Crossfire receiver antennas. Those antennas suck. I mean, you know, for racing freestyle, it's great. But compared to the upgraded, like the Immortal T antenna, it's not nearly as good. Because I went to the same park that I was flying at on the weekend, and my range before it started, like, you know, switching modes, my range was like, I don't know, 200 feet less. I was kind of surprised because, you know, the antenna is mounted good, it's vertical, and but yeah, the range on the stock antenna is not nearly as good as the Immortal T. So if you do get Crossfire, make sure you get the Immortal T for the receivers. But yeah, that's it. Definitely a nicer feeling of connection when you're flying Crossfire over SBUS. You just have to decide if that feeling is worth $120. You know, excluding long range. If you're flying long range, then it's kind of a no-brainer. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments.